Okay, so imagine this for a second. What if you woke up one day and the government told you that you were dead? Not dying, not sick, just officially, legally dead. That's exactly what happened to one guy. And honestly, his story is absolutely wild. Let's rewind to 1986. There's this man named Donald Miller Jr. He lives in Ohio. Ordinary guy. Nothing unusual. And then one day he just disappears. Poof, gone. No phone call. No goodbye. No explanation. His family is devastated, and they wait. A year goes by. Then another. Then another. Still nothing. By 1994, 8 years later, his family makes a heartbreaking decision. They go to court and ask a judge to declare Donald legally dead. And guess what? The judge agrees. Just like that, Donald Miller Jr. is no longer legally alive. Let's rewind to 1986. Donald Miller Jr. was living a quiet life in Arcadia, Ohio. No criminal history, no drama. Then one day he was gone. No goodbye, no calls, no trace. His family didn't know what to think. At first, they assumed he might have left on his own. But the longer he was gone, the more it felt like something was wrong. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into years. Still nothing. Eventually, his parents faced a brutal choice. In 1994, after 8 years of silence, they went to court. Not to find him, but to declare him legally dead. It wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. They needed access to benefits. They needed closure. And in the eyes of the court, their request made sense. So the judge approved it. Donald Miller Jr. was officially declared dead. The paperwork said it. The government said it. He no longer existed. Not legally, anyway. That declaration allowed the family to move forward financially. But it also locked Donald out of existence, and he didn't even know it yet. Fast forward to 2005. That's 11 years after Donald Miller Jr. was declared legally dead. And guess who shows up back in town? Donald. Very much alive. Very much breathing. Probably just looking to piece his life back together. He walks into his hometown like nothing happened, because for him, nothing did. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't on the run. He'd just been drifting, living, doing odd jobs, and now he wanted to come home and restart. So naturally, he tries to do normal things. He goes to get a driver's license. He wants to work again. Maybe open a bank account. Reconnect with people. But the state of Ohio had other plans. They pull up his records and go, you're dead. And Donald's like, no, I'm literally standing right here. But it didn't matter. Because on paper, he no longer existed. He was legally erased. So he takes it to court. He says, I'm back, I'm alive, I'd like to be not dead anymore. And here's where the story takes a turn from bizarre to downright dystopian. The judge hears the case and says, we believe you, we see you, but legally, our hands are tied. Why? Because under Ohio law, there's a statute of limitations on reversing a death declaration. 3 years. Donald missed that window by 5 years. And that meant the court couldn't reverse it, no matter how real and alive he was. He was legally past the deadline to be resurrected. Let that sink in for a second. The man is physically there, talking, breathing, asking for his identity back. But the law? It says too late, not too complicated. Not, we need more proof. Just, too late. That's the level of red tape we're dealing with here. So now we're in the courtroom. Donald Miller Jr. is standing in front of a judge trying to do something that should be simple. Prove he's alive. But it's not simple. Not even close. He explains that he disappeared in the 80s because of personal issues. He was broke, struggling with alcoholism, and didn't want to be a burden to his family anymore. So he walked away from his life. Literally. Now he's older. He's sober. And he wants to come back, legally and physically. But the court isn't having it. The judge listens. He nods. And then he says something that feels like it belongs in a Kafka novel. I don't have the legal authority to reverse your death declaration. Let that sink in. This man is standing there, in the courtroom, breathing, speaking, making eye contact. But the judge tells him he is still, by law, deceased. And the reason? It's because Ohio has a statute of limitations for reversing a death declaration. You get 3 years to challenge it. Donald showed up 11 years too late. So even though everyone agrees he's alive, the law says, sorry, you missed the deadline. No exceptions. No appeals, just a bureaucratic wall that says, too bad. And Donald isn't asking for much. He's not asking for money. He just wants a social security number, a driver's license, a shot at a normal life. But he can't get any of it, because legally he doesn't exist. It's like trying to fill out paperwork in the afterlife. Imagine how surreal that would feel. To walk into a government office and have them look at you like you're a ghost. To be told face to face that your existence is invalid. It wasn't malicious. It was just rules. And the rules don't make room for someone to come back from the dead. The judge actually apologized. He called the situation strange and unusual, but said his hands were tied. He admitted Donald's case was tragic, but not illegal. And in that courtroom, surrounded by files, folders, and legal procedures, Donald Miller Jr. walked out still dead. Alive in body, erased on paper. So now what? Donald Miller Jr. leaves court still legally dead. And what does that mean in practice? It means everything gets harder. Things most of us do without even thinking, he can't do it all. You need a legal identity to get a job, to apply for healthcare, to get housing, to open a bank account, to vote, even to get a phone in your name. Donald couldn't do any of that. He was invisible in every way that mattered. No official documents, no benefits, no protections. It's like he was trapped between two worlds. Physically alive, but functionally erased. His ex-wife even came to court. Not to oppose him, but to confirm it was really him. She told the judge, yes, this is Donald, the same man I was married to. But it didn't change the outcome, because the law wasn't built to handle a situation like this. And here's where it really starts to feel like a horror story. Imagine going to the DMV, standing in line, finally reaching the counter, only to be told you don't exist. Not in the system, not in any database. You're not even eligible for identity theft because there's no identity to steal. Now imagine trying to get a job like that. You fill out the forms, you submit your application, and it all bounces back because you're legally dead. And here's the part that feels cruel in a quiet, bureaucratic way. There's no hotline for this. No department that handles resurrections. No standard form for undoing a legal death. He wasn't just told no, he was told there's no way to say yes. He didn't commit fraud. He didn't fake his death. He just left and stayed gone long enough that the system wrote him off. And now the same system refuses to let him return. He didn't try to sue. Didn't make a big public scene. He just tried to live. He moved in with friends. Did small jobs under the table. Stayed out of trouble. Kept to himself. Because what else could he do? The government had spoken. And it had said, you are not real. That's the part that sticks with you. Not the paperwork. Not the mistakes. But the fact that when he came back to reclaim his life, the door was locked, and no one had the key. So now we've got this man, Donald Miller Jr., who's legally dead and stuck that way. He's walking around Ohio trying to reclaim a life that, on paper, doesn't exist. He can't renew his license. He can't apply for a job. He can't collect benefits. He's not even eligible for health care. Because as far as the system's concerned, he's not a person. He's a legal ghost. And here's where it gets darker. Donald's not fighting some obscure glitch. He's fighting precedent. Because the statute of limitations to reverse a death declaration in Ohio is just 3 years. Donald showed up 11 years after his was signed. The judge in his case, Alan Davis, even said, "I don't know where that leaves you, but you're still deceased as far as the law is concerned." Let that sink in. The judge admitted it was absurd, but also said his hands were tied. He couldn't undo the declaration. Not because it wasn't wrong, but because it had been wrong for too long. And so Donald Miller was trapped in a legal black hole, alive but officially permanently dead. No appeal, no retrial. Just a man trying to exist inside a system that refused to acknowledge him. It's one of those moments where the law becomes the thing it was designed to prevent. Cold, inflexible, unjust. And while Miller's case is rare, it exposes a real flaw. What happens when bureaucracy prioritizes paperwork over people? What happens when the rules are followed so strictly that common sense is completely left behind? Got thoughts on this one? Should the law ever treat a living person as legally dead, just to follow the rules? Drop your take in the comments. If this story blew your mind even a little, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.